So hello everybody, welcome back to Meet the Juggler Live. This is already the 11th edition, and today we're very happy to have Delaney Bayles. Delaney Bayles, I would say Bayles, but anyway, you could tell us how you say your name. So Delaney, how are you?
I'm good. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Good, great. So, let's just go. Let's just go. Like what I quite often ask people is when they come on the show, just to share a little bit about how they got into juggling. You know, there was one moment where you didn't know how to juggle, and then all of a sudden you did know. You know, and some people they leave it by the wayside and then they pick it up again. Some people once they learn it, they never stop again. Just if you'd like to just share a little bit about this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, growing up as a kid, I had a lot of kind of random hobbies that I'd get really invested into. I think a lot of jugglers kind of experience similar things. But when I was 13 years old, I was kind of at this family gathering event, and I was super bored. I didn't really have a lot to do. And my uncle had 3 balls. He could kind of just, juggle 3 and showed me how to do it. And it was something I'd always really wanted to learn. And so I kind of jumped at the opportunity to just learn 3 balls and kind of maybe have that as like a little lifelong skill I could pull out. But then I went home, and it was just kind of like the right timing for me to learn something like that. And it was something I could learn on my own and practice as much as I wanted or as little as I wanted. And that was probably one of my favorite things about juggling, is that I can just kind of do it on my own. So.
Yes, yeah. For lots of people, it's like on your own time, definitely. And a lot of more introverted jugglers, they have a lot of. I almost like sort of jokingly, but it is like a therapy in the end, juggling therapy. In the sense that it just gets rid of all the like nonsense that's buzzing around our heads, and then we can really get zoned out into it. And this is. But obviously, you've got really into it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do the things you're doing, right? So, like, how did you go from learning 3 balls with your uncle's balls to getting more and more passionate and dedicated?
Yeah, for sure. So I came home, and then, obviously found some stuff online, and kind of took that normal trajectory of learning 3 balls and 4 balls and 5. And I don't know. I mean, I think, it's so long ago that I don't remember specifics, but I just, ordered some balls off Amazon and just kept going. And it was just one of those things that like year after year, I'd find ways to practice a little bit more or add rings or clubs, and just kept on going. I don't think there's anything.
Yeah. Okay. I need to sort of like dive in there a little bit, because there's things that we need to like sort of like bring out a little bit. So because for lots of us, it's normal. This is how I train, and but it's to give so much dedication to something that in the end is like has no real like aim unless you want to become a performer, and like lots of times as jugglers we don't know that we want to become performers. And I don't know if I've just lost the connection.
I think I'm here. You hear me? Did I lose you?
Oh well, perhaps.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, back again. I don't know if you lost me for that. I'm having some trouble with my internet today. It's like I don't know. The pandemic. It's like we become so dependent on our internet connection now, and when it goes, it's terrible. So anyway, so yeah, what was like the main motivation? It was just like I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, is it like every day you're there and you're just like loving it, or it takes you a little while to get into your training? Or you have like your routine, like your rituals, and then before you know it, you're fully there, concentrated.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was younger, I went to my first IJA, and that was super fun, and kind of being involved in the community, obviously, and seeing all these super good jugglers who I'd seen on the internet and whatnot. I just really wanted to be at their skill level, and I wanted to like be a part of some of those competitions and just, you know, be at that skill level where you're kind of a little bit respected and whatnot. So that at the beginning was definitely a big part of it. As for, you know, practicing and training, I would say most of the time, you know, I do enjoy it. You know, if I didn't, I wouldn't I wouldn't continue. But I mean, obviously,
yeah, and it's how you find the enjoyment. This is what I find particularly interesting. Yeah, is it always like pushing your limits, or is it just is like almost like a dance for you, or what is the enjoyment there for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think all the above. You know, I definitely want to see how good I can get, and you know where my ceiling is. But I think for me, there's just kind of a freedom of like, you know, being in the gym and just, you know, having headphones on and just, you know, going for it, and it doesn't really matter. It's just super fun and super freeing for me.
Okay, so and how long are your sessions normally? Your training sessions, or do you have multiple in a day?
Yeah, I mean, it's greatly varied over the last like 9 years now. I think I think 2 hours is kind of a good session for me.
Right.
Sometimes I'll do 2 a days, not always. I mean, I think it greatly varies on what else I have to do that day.
Yeah, sure. I was always quite amazed to hear that Gatto, he would train like 2.5 hours a day, 2.25, 2.5 hours a day, you know. But it's like the quality. If you get that quality, then that's like more than enough, you know. And so how do you like, you know, a lot of jugglers, you know, they sometimes could be really focused and then end up with a list that's like a mile long of all the tricks you want to try in that day, right? And other people, on the other hand, you have the other extreme of people that they don't really have a plan, you know, and sometimes they get a little bit lost in their training. So how is your training for you? Like, do you structure it? You do the same thing every day? You have some variation time, or does it change? Does it grow in the year, or?
For sure. I definitely have the problem with kind of staying a little too similar. I think I definitely should vary it up more often than I do. I think for me, I'm super, you know, habit based, and so often when I can just go in and like work on the same things and get better at those same things, it is easier for me, rather than like constantly adding stuff and being all over the place. But yeah, definitely stay more on the same things, and I always know what I'm going to do before I go in.
Okay, you have your plan, right. And how important is? I always think that jugglers, they get to a really high level, and artists in general, when they get to a really high level, they are, when they're not practicing, they have it like buzzing in their heads, the things, you know, and also their imaginative power is quite strong as well. And I can also imagine that your imaginative power is quite strong. Is this something that you sort of like you sort of somehow developed, or is it just like just part of you, as to say?
Sure. I definitely would love to be able to visualize a little bit better. That is not something I've really worked on. I mean, obviously I can see patterns in my head or whatnot, but I could definitely, I think, benefit from maybe working on that a little bit more. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's like sometimes I've been holding like retreats for years now, and we always have just like 1 hour of training, of individual training. Like everybody trains on their own. We'll have a warm up beforehand, and one of the days we'll be working on the visualization. You know, like before you do the thing, see the pattern, and then do it. And what I've seen though is that really like let's say genius people, that happens at the same time. You know, they visual, but we can cultivate this at the same time. We can one goes on top of the other. You know, it might sound a bit weird, but it's like we're using the eyes, our mind's eyes, rather than like what we actually see, and we put them together, and things start to go where they go. And also, to do what you do, you need to feel like, I mean, this might sound a bit strange, you need to be like you're in control of the things, you know. It can't be, the props can't have control of you, you know, otherwise they go all over the shop, you know. So so do you tend to, how is your method? Do you tend to stop before you lose total, everything gets messy, or you try and go a little bit further, or you prefer to drop all over the place and keep going like that?
Yeah, I think all the above, right? I definitely, you know, it depends what we're doing. I think for more endurance-based stuff, I definitely like to do, a couple runs that are like very much controlled, and then do a couple runs that are kind of all out. When working on maybe some of those harder tricks that I'm not quite there yet, then I'll definitely, sometimes I do need to I'll like pick a number of throws to do, and then like if catches are there, I'll catch them. But if not, I'm not super concerned. Like I just finished, working on 5 club trebles, and I get, lately I have a very good flash, so I do a couple flashes, do a couple sevens, and then the 9, 10 throws weren't quite there, so I just get them out and get used to getting the throws there, because they are sort of difficult throws, and then catches will catch up.
Excellent. So a bit like lots of jugglers here, they know what treblers are, right? It's Albert's backwards. It's actually Albert's written backwards as well.
Yeah.
And so it's rather than going from the front to the back without lifting up your legs, you're going from behind forwards. And crazy trick, crazy. Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, going for numbers, going for runs, deciding how many we want to go through, that's always quite a motivating thing, I find. It's blasting through the. And what sort of like stages have you seen? Let's take 7 balls, or 5 clubs. It's like, well, how would you say like 50 and then 200? What are the sort of like levels that you try and go for to have it really feeling good?
So like, what is like, how many catches do I have to do before I have it?
Yeah, before you feel that you've got it, yeah. And also, like, sometimes, there are like some levels where, like, I find like 200 throws. Once you get past 200, you can almost do like infinite throws. I don't know, but this might be different from your experience, and this is what I was wondering.
Yeah, I think at a certain point you kind of get to that place where you can run it, but maybe it isn't always great. For me, there's like that trick. I think it's a little more applicable with balls, like 5 balls. But like you juggle 5 balls, you throw one really high, you catch 2, and then you can go back in. Kind of whatever the equivalent of that is. So maybe like 7-4-4 or like 9-6-6. Once I can just do like one round of that and then go back in the pattern, that for me is kind of like that first step of like, oh, okay. I can kind of understand this pattern and can kind of go in and out of it when I want to. Yeah.
Perhaps you could just like briefly, and then we'll go on to onto the school you did as well. I'd like to hear what you learned there, how it was structured there. But let's just go through. Say you want to learn a new trick. How is your approach to learning this new trick? Do you watch other people how they do it first really well, or?
I mean, if it's it depends, right? If it's like I'm working on a new number, I mean, certainly watching someone with really good technique is always good, just to get that in my head. But that's just, if it's an even number, breaking it down each side, getting really good, obviously, and then putting it together. If it's a trick, I definitely try and work more on things that I don't see a lot of people do. So I don't really search out to find things that a lot of people do, right? But again, kind of that first day that I go and work on something, I'll just do it, right? I'll just do, it can even be just like 4 or 5 throws, like a flash or whatever it is. Just kind of feel it out, it's kind of like dipping my toe in the water for, just get used to it. And then that next day I'll kind of gauge and be like, okay, I'm going to work on this flash for a little bit, then I'll just add 2 throws, or whatever, and keep working it up. So nothing.
Yeah, crazy. You like build up. You feel like you get to know it somehow a little bit. Make it your friend as well, And I'm sure actually, like our approach with the props, if we have a friendly approach, it's also more of a friendly approach to ourselves as well. Because sometimes we can beat ourselves up a lot about juggling tricks, and I don't think it's necessarily the best way. So I like this what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm definitely more of a little bit over a long period of time rather than like, a ton of practice on one trick for. You seem to have a lot of patience.
Delaney, was this something that you would say that you say like generally is part of your character, or is it something you just developed with juggling?
I mean, my sister gets after me. She's like, "Don't, like, why are you frustrated at juggling?" But so that's always a good reminder. I'd say in general, I'm sometimes too patient with tricks, and I'll just be like, "Oh, great," and I'll have to remember, no, keep pushing, keep reaching for that. For sure, I have to continually, remind.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. So before we go and talk about the school, let's talk about also the top 40 jugglers. And you came first place this year, and it's like it's the juggling community that votes on this thing, and how does this make you feel? It's like has anything changed in your perception with your juggling, or like you feel more encouraged? I don't know.
For sure, going back, 5-6 years now. I remember there was one, like the first year before I got on, I really wanted to be on there, and obviously didn't make it. I was, probably 40s, 50s, whatever. It was, it was a big deal. And I think every year that you just get on there and it's funny because 2 years ago, I think I put out 2 videos and, went to a festival or whatever. And I was, like 14 or something. And then last year I did like nothing. And I was like 1 spot higher. So you're kind of like, well, I'm not quite sure. People just have my name in their head and they're just voting for me for nothing. I don't know. This year was, a bit of a different situation. I kind of woke up one morning and there was all the stuff online, right? The kind of that big discussion. And I was like, oh man, this is a big, headache, or it's great, whatever. It's kind of all the above for me. And then, I think kind of the way I've just kind of lived my juggling career life, if you will, I saw it and then I went, I went and trained for 3 hours and then came back and looked at it, and then they had the quota change. And so I kind of wanted to say something. And so right before the discussion closed, I put a little statement out. But, I mean, for me, I definitely don't want to be considered good because I'm a girl. And I know that is certainly kind of always going to be a part of my story, right? I can't detach from that. People will always see me as that really good girl juggler, and, that's fine. But I've always thought that I'm more than that, if you will.
Sure.
Even though I am to be a woman juggler and proud of other women who juggle, for sure.
Yeah, it's very... Yeah, no, it makes sense. I think it's great that you talked about this a little bit. I don't know. It's very tricky, very, very tricky.
Yeah.
It's very tricky, very tricky. Like, we have somebody here that asks if you could juggle a little bit for us. I don't know, if you even have any props with you, or like, I don't know if it's really the space, it's like, people, hear all these things and say like, wow, what's she? But, I don't know. I don't know if it's really. We will post some videos later in the chat here, and I know you don't ask ladies how old they are. Delaney, how old are you?
I'm 22.
Oh wow, good. And when did you go? You just finished recently the school that you went to.
Yeah, about 9 months ago, last May. Wrapped up.
Oh right, really fresh.
Literally, yeah.
Really fresh.
And
wow.
Graduation. Yeah.
Wow, and how did you find that? I mean, was that motivating for you? Did it change your approach some ways? Did you work more on your body? How was how was it for you? Were you happy with it? Happy to have gone?
Yeah, for sure. I think everything in life you do, you'll learn something from, for sure. It was 3 years of, the school was new when I went. I was part of the first class ever. And so I think that presented a lot of interesting opportunities. And when I was there, I ran into one of the juggling coaches, Kyle Driggs, and his partner, Andrea, she's a dancer, and she really helped me. Definitely, pushed me towards dancing and kind of finding my own movement style, and then working with Kyle, incorporating juggling back in. For me, it was super awesome, and kind of one of those like once in a lifetime, if you will, experiences to kind of find someone who's like willing to work with you kind of where you are, which was quite low at that point as far as movement goes, and kind of help me get to a much higher level, and then hopefully soon I'll be able to kind of perform the act that I made there.
Yeah, is this your plan now to build an act that you're happy with? I don't know where are you in this stage of things?
So I have an act, and I have it on film and whatnot, and so I mean it's done. I think once I'm able to perform it a lot, I think it'll be feel more comfortable. Obviously.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. You need to perform it 30, 50, 100 times at least before it really starts getting in there and rolling. And so what we're in very special times now, and there's a great uncertainty about everything, and you don't seem too phased by this right now.
So I'm back in Utah, back in Salt Lake City. I'm kind of just going back to school, and I'll most likely do a physical therapy assistant program for the next year or so. Mom, kind of always clears up, and then just have kind of that backup hopefully, and then we'll perform and kind of see how it goes from there.
Yeah. So let's say so who is like who inspires you now, like as jugglers? Who do you look up to? And although it's a funny thing, it's like sometimes we can also be a little bit like envious of other jugglers, but like envy generally, I would say, is always an invitation that it's like unexpressed talent, let's say, it's unexpressed desires. So it's good to be a little bit envious and be inspired, but we need to channel that properly into action. And so yeah, I don't know. I don't want to put you on the spot too much, No,
for sure. So growing up, Doug Sayers was my my absolute favorite juggler of all time. I actually still have a poster of Doug in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Embarrassing. But yeah, he's definitely been one of my favorite jugglers. And I've got to meet him a couple times, juggle him. Super good guy. So there's that. As far as a little more recent, I mean, OFEC, obviously, I can't go wrong with that guy. Again, super nice guy, and phenomenal juggler. I mean, Spencer's great. I love watching Spencer stuff when it comes out. Jack's great. Esteban is also great. I mean, there's so many great jugglers out there. Just love watching any of them and all of them. And also just like those, you just like scrolling through IJA's Instagram and you just see like someone you've never heard of doing something utterly insane. Pretty much anyone can be inspiring for sure.
Sure. No, when we get into this mindset of really curiosity and learning, get ideas all over the place, definitely. And so, is there anything like how long ago? I didn't quite understand this time frame. How long ago did you start then your juggling journey? 9 years ago. Is that what you said?
Just training or juggling?
Yeah. Do you you learned 9 years ago? Okay. So, what is it that you've learned recently? Like, what sort of advice would you have given yourself? Things now that you perhaps would have done differently earlier.
I think maybe start working on numbers a little bit sooner. I think I always tend to wait until something is super solid to kind of move on to that next level. I think I definitely probably could have started six clubs sooner, and whatnot, everything like that. But I think looking back, I think all that's fine. I mean, it's kind of hard to, I obviously got to, a place where I'm happy at for the moment. So there's not a whole lot I'd like to change. I guess just, tell myself like, yeah, keep working.
Okay, cool. And do you have like a warm down session? You have a warm up session, or you just get straight in there with your props?
Yeah, I don't have it on me. It's downstairs, but I have kind of one of those gyroscope balls.
Yes, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got one somewhere. Who knows where that's gone? Yeah, to warm up with. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, I'll just do like 3 minutes one hand, 3 minutes the other hand. Just kind of light stretching, kind of putting weight on my hands. I think all of that stuff is good. I think cool down is probably the biggest place I could improve. I definitely need to roll out my forearms more than I do. But right. Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah. But you're still very young, at the beginning of your 20s. You're but yeah, certainly, stretching is really important as you get towards the end of your 20s. But it's better to start earlier anyway, and yeah, make sure everything's really relaxed, like like you said, roll it out. So Delaney, we're going to post some of your videos in the comments for the people that don't know what you're up to, and yeah, perhaps you have some. We'll ask you what sort of tips. Let's give some tips for some people. Let's say, yeah, give us your like 5 best tips.
Yeah, I think the first one is if you want to get good, make practicing a habit, right? I think, if you're like, okay, every Tuesday at 5, I have an open slot, I'm going to go and practice then. I think if you leave it up to chance of like, oh, I could go practice or I could go do something else. Again, if you really want to go to juggling, just put it in your head as like, oh, I'm doing that, not as like, oh, I could do it or maybe not, right? Just be like, okay, at that time, I'm doing that. And then
commit.
I think, yeah, for sure. I think another thing is if I'm not, again, it doesn't happen that often anymore, but if I'm not super motivated, I'll just like, go and practice, put like an hour timer on my phone, and just like once it goes off, then I'm done. And usually by then you'll be like, yeah, okay, I'm kind of in practice mode. I think find the props that you like, and if there's like maybe a certain prop that you're not the biggest fan of, I wouldn't spend time on it, but I guess just find what's fun, what's enjoyable, and then put your time into that. And I think if there's one area of juggling that you're more interested in than another, I'd really go for that. Whatever makes you unique is gonna probably make you, stand out from everyone else and probably have more fun. For sure.
Yeah, this comes up a lot actually in his talks. We've been having this thing to really follow what your interests are, and not just because you're supposed to do this. Oh, they're great tips, Delaney. So we wish you like really all the best, and yeah, is there anything you would like to add before we say goodbye to everybody here?
No, thank you.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to close the conversation. Oh, next week we have Laurie, the juggle master for his juggle mastery, and he'll be on there sharing a little bit about what his work's about and what he's been working on. He's like fully been going for methodology, and I'm sure he's got really a lot of things to share with us. And yeah, so let's see. So I hope this call has been interesting for everybody who's watching it now live and people that watch it in the future. And be great if you just say like a little comment, leave a little comment here, like hello Delaney, I don't know, something. Just we encourage them to keep up this work. So we're gonna end the broadcast now. So thanks again to Delaney, and
yeah.